Hello, everybody. And today we're going to be talking about becoming a slave. I know what you're thinking. The fuck is he talking about? Hear me out. Listen. No, but seriously, today we're going to talk about what you need to become a slave to in order to have a successful life, in order to have the life that you want. Now, before I even turned on the camera, I was thinking to myself. I was actually talking to myself, and I was like, it's time to stop living mediocre. It's time to stop doing the same thing. It's time to stop living average, living normal. And the only way you're going to escape that, the only way you're going to stop living average, stop living mediocre, stop having a basic life is if you become a slave. You have to become a slave. You do. Because let me ask you this. Why do you think you mediocre in the first place? Why do you think you live at average in the first place? Why do you think your life is normal, basic? Why do you think you go through life, you have a mundane routine, and you just do the same shit every day? Why do you think that? Why? I'll tell you why. Because you're already a slave. You're a slave already. You're a slave. Now, a slave to what? What are you a slave to? Let's think about this for a second. So, the average person, they wake up, they most likely don't got their fitness together. They most likely don't got their health together. They most likely don't got, just their physical well-being together. So they eating processed food. They wake up, they eating processed food. Or some people not even eating at all. Some people wake up, probably don't even eat. They probably skip breakfast. But you feel what I'm saying? People don't have a healthy eating life. Most people, right off the bat. So right off the bat, you don't even got a healthy eating life. Your eating life not even that good. So you wake up, you probably eat some bullshit, or you probably don't eat at all. So that's number one. Then after you wake up, depending on how old you is, so let's say a student. We're gonna work our way up. We're gonna start with students. We're gonna start with kids in school. Then we're gonna move on to the adults. So now you have a teen, however old you is. We gonna say teen. So you got a teen, right? Wake up, eat some bullshit, then they go to school. They go to an institution, a learning institution. They go to school, and then they go learn some pointless bullshit. And while they're in school, remember, we're talking about the average. We're not talking about the anomaly. We're not talking about the outlier. We're not talking about the exception. We're talking about the average day-to-day person. Who is the average person that lives a basic, normal, mundane lifestyle? Who is a slave? We don't get to it. So they go to school, and most likely they doing a whole lot of nothing. So why the teacher teaching some bullshit? Because all they trying to do is get a paycheck. That's all they trying to do. They just trying to get their money. They trying to get paid. They don't care about y'all. They don't care about students. So while the teachers in there teaching some pointless bullshit, the kids, the children, the teens, they in there and they fucking like doing anything. They fucking just wasting their time. They fucking goofing off. They joking around with their peers, their friends and stuff, and they doing a whole lot of bullshit. They probably in there on their phone, so they just wasting a lot of time. And then so pretty much, yeah, that's what they doing most of the day. They probably trying to, hook up with some people. They probably trying to have, like pointless sex and shit. They probably doing a whole lot of bullshit. So that's what they doing though throughout the whole entire day. That's what they doing throughout the whole day. They doing a whole lot of nothing. And then when they get home, they most likely, remember we talking about the average. So the average teen, they probably either at home, on social media, on their phone, wasting more time, or they probably out with their friends. They probably hanging out with them after school, or like I said before, they probably trying to have some pointless sex. They probably trying to hit a girl up, or if you're a female, they probably trying to hit a dude up. Either way, they just having pointless interactions, pointless bullshit. So, and that consists of their whole day, and then it's a wash, rinse, and repeat. That's what they doing every single day. Wake up, go to school, don't learn shit, goof off with their friends and stuff, try to have pointless sex, and then go home, or either continue and hang out, with whoever they was, or they just do a whole lot of nothing at home. And that's just the average teen. That's what they do. They don't have really a lot going on. They don't know what they want to do in life. And I get it, because shit, even now I don't know exactly what I want to do in life. Like, I got a lot of ideas, I got a lot of thoughts of what I want to do, but I don't have a clear-cut plan. Like, I don't have a clear-cut plan. Like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go full throttle with this. But anyways, so, and that's just the average teen. Now, as the teen, grows up, develops, get older, they become an adult. So, most likely, either they went to college or they started working. Either way, though, they gonna start working. Both of them, well, whichever route you take, you're gonna work regardless. So, let's say they went to college for however many years, probably dropped out, probably finished off 4 years, who knows? But now they at a job. So now they're older, now they're adults, they're grown. They probably still live with their parents, or if they don't, they probably, by themselves, or they probably got a roommate or something like that. But the point is, it's the same routine. You're an adult now, but it really hasn't changed. It really hasn't changed. You wake up, go to work. What do you do all day at work? Waste your life away. You're getting paid, but you're wasting your life away. You're going to work every day just to waste your life away. So they go there for however many hours, maybe 8 hours, maybe 10 hours. So they go to work, waste their life away, and that's it. Then they come home, do whatever they do. They probably trying to have some pointless sex again, then learn from their teenage life. So they doing the same exact shit. They probably trying to, hang out with whoever they friends is, they buddies. They probably got some coworkers they cool with. They just wasting their life because they're a slave. Once again, they're a slave. And before you know it, they in their 30s. Or they in their late 20s. They now approaching their 30s. They reaching their 30s. Now they hit their 30s. Then now somewhere they in their mid 30s. Now they in their late 30s. Now they in their 40s. Now they in their early 40s. Now they in their mid 40s. Now they in their 50s. Now they in their early 50s. Now they in their mid 50s. And now they in their late 50s. And now they 60 and up. And they regret their life decisions. And they live an average, mediocre, basic life because they was a slave. They was a slave. They was a slave, so now they're 60 and they have nothing to show for themselves. They're pathetic. That they're sad, they're lonely. They envious, they jealous, they miserable. They hate everybody else's life. They look around and they see everybody else, with all these nice things that they worked hard to get for themselves, and now they jealous. They sit back and they say, damn, why can I have this shit? What you mean? Why you can't have it? Because you was a slave. That's why you couldn't have it. You was being a slave. So as a result, this is what your life looked like. So, and that's what the average person's life look like. That's what the average person's life look like. They start off in school, because you gotta see it's a pattern. It's a behavioral pattern. So however you was acting when you was younger, typically if you keep that same mindset, that's how you're gonna act when you older, and that's how you're gonna act for the rest of your life. So That's what happened. And the reason I said that story, the reason I told that story is because I'm trying to explain what caused them to have that life. It's because they was a slave. Now I'm going to tell you what they was a slave to. They was a slave to all the wrong things. They was a slave to stuff that didn't matter. They was a slave to everything that didn't help them but hurt them. That's what they was a slave to. They was a slave to all that shit. They was a slave to everything but things that was actually going to be beneficial towards them. They was a slave to sex. They was a slave to social media. They was a slave to validation from other people. They was a slave to goofing off. They was a slave to fun. They was a slave to quick thrills. They was a slave to popularity, looking good for other people. They was a slave to all that shit. They was a slave to their own desires. They was a slave to everything that didn't matter. So as a result, that's the life that they live. That's the life that they will continue to live. And that's why the process, that's why it's a never endless cycle of people who do the exact same thing. They go through life and they're slaves to all this bullshit. They're slaves. And that's what's gonna happen to you if you continue to be a slave, and if you're already a slave, and that's what's already happened to you. It's nothing you can do about it. Once you reach 60, once you reach 50, that's it. Your time is up. Your time is up. It's nothing you can do about it. Once you're that age, your life is over. What the fuck can you do? You already lived your life. You feel what I'm saying? It's nothing you can do. You're old, you're frail, you don't have your youth. Your ambition is gone. It's gone because you're old, you don't have it no more. That's what happens to you when you're older. You see, when you was younger, you had that drive. When you was younger, you had that energy, that willpower to go out and get it, that willpower to go out and, make a way for yourself and lay the foundations. You had all of that, but now you don't, because you're old. Your time is coming. You're almost done. Your death is close. It's inevitable. And that's just the reality for most people. See it. I see it all around me. I see it every day. It's not nothing new. It's just the way it is. It's just how it go. That's how it go in the animal kingdom. That's how it go. You can't stop it. Once you that age, you're old. Think about it. You're old. You're a senior citizen. What the fuck can you do if you don't already have results? If you don't already have, money behind your name, power behind your name, influence behind your name? If you already have none of that shit, then what the fuck can you do? You can't do shit. You a sheep. It's nothing you can do. Once you hit that age, you didn't do what you needed to do when you were younger, it's over. But if you are young, if you do still have your youth, if you are still a young person, then you can escape this. You can escape. Yeah, you definitely can escape by becoming a slave. That's how you escape. You have to become a slave. Now, I already explained what people was a slave to that led them to have that lifestyle to where they ended up in their 50s, their 40s, 50s, and their 60s, and then now they just a vegetable. They just sitting there. They just waiting for their end. They just waiting to die at that point. I already explained what they was a slave to that made them become that made their life come to that. I already explained what they was a slave to. Now I'm going to tell you what you need to be a slave to in order to avoid that, in order to escape that, in order to not have that happen. You see, in life, you should be learning from your own mistakes, but it's also very good to learn from other people's mistakes. You need to learn from everybody else's mistakes. It's very important. So, in order to not have that lifestyle, in order to not be looking back on your life and regretting your whole life and all of your life decisions, you have to be a slave. You have to be a slave. A slave to what? You have to be a slave to never-ending self-development. You have to be a slave to self-improvement. You have to be a slave to dedication, hard work, sacrifice. You have to be a slave to all of that shit. Why? Well, this is why. Because this is what happens. When you a slave to self-development, to always improving, you a slave to self-improvement. Your life has no choice but to get better. Think about it. You're a slave to self-improvement. That is the most powerful thing, one of the most powerful things you can ever do. You're a slave to self-improvement. You're improving. You have to become obsessed with improving yourself every single day. To day in, to day out, to the time you wake up, all the way from the time when you go back to sleep. You have to be hell-bent. You have to be focused on self-development. Because if you don't, you're gonna end up in that situation I just described. You're gonna live a mediocre life, and you're always gonna be average. That is one of my biggest fears in life. I fear that more than death. We gonna save death for another video. Cause me personally, like, this might sound crazy, but I love death. You feel what I'm saying? Not in that way. I can't explain it, but it's like, death is a beautiful thing, to put it short. Like the Grim Reaper, I look at the Grim Reaper like my wife. That's my wife. That's my baby. She beautiful. But anyways, let's get back to it. So that's one of my biggest fears in life. You have one of my biggest fears is turning out mediocre. Okay, I look at everybody else, I say shit. I say, hold up, I don't want to end up like these motherfuckers. They ass be literally, because right now I'm working and I go into my job, I see people, they're old as fuck. They're old as fuck. They're dinosaurs. They're old as shit. They're old as hell. I'm not trying to talk about them, I'm just being honest. They're old. And I'm like, God damn, what the fuck? I'm not trying to end up like that. I can't end up like that. I'm not going to end up like that. I'm not. I refuse. That's one of my biggest fears. To end up mediocre, to always be old as hell, still walking into a job. Are you kidding me? You think I'm about to be old as fuck? My bones don't even work no more. My legs damn near don't work, and I'm old as hell, and I'm still walking into a job. No, I refuse. I'm not. So that's one of my biggest fears. And to escape that, you have to be a slave to self-improvement. You see, when you self-improvement, your life has no choice but to get better. Has no choice. Because you're always working on it. You always improving it. You always making adjustments. You always refining it. You always finding ways to make it better, to make it more beneficial, to make it work for you. This is what happens when you become a slave to self-improvement, to self-development. When you always focused on becoming better than you was yesterday, becoming better than you was a month ago, becoming better than you was a week ago, becoming better than you was a year ago. You become a slave to that, and I promise you will escape. You will not live a mediocre life. But you have to really pledge your allegiance to this way of living. You have to declare your sworn oath to promise that this is what you will be a slave to for the rest of your life. It's that serious. Yes, it has to be that serious. It's very serious, because it's either A, you fuck up, you waste your life, now you in your 60s regretting everything you ever did and you miserable, or it's B, you focus most of your time on hard work, sacrifice, dedication, self-improvement, self-development, getting better, and enjoying the fruits of your labor. Which one do you want? It's clear as day. You want the second option. You want to be able to have a lifestyle for yourself where you can live freely, where you can do whatever you want. But that can only happen if you become a slave to self-improvement. You have to be a slave to self-improvement, to self-development. That is what you be a slave to. That is your master. Okay? That is your law. You have to be loyal. You have to swear your loyalty to slavery, to self-improvement. You have to. Otherwise, you will always be average. Otherwise, you will always be mediocre. Otherwise, you will never have what you want. Have to be a slave to self-improvement and self-development. It's just the only way. It's the only way this can go. It's the only way life can go. You have to be a slave to that. I would rather be a slave to that than to be a slave to some shit that feel good, but it don't feel good later. Like, you a slave to self-improvement, you gonna be like, damn, you gonna be looking at everybody, you gonna wanna have fun, you gonna wanna go out, you gonna wanna do all that stuff that you used to do before you decide to become a slave to this. But you have to have that strict discipline to say, no, this is my life now. You have to have a complete change, a complete mind shift. I declare, I am a slave to this. I succumb to slavery to self-improvement. This is what I do. This is me now. You have to become a whole different person. You have to change. Hey, if you really want the life of your dreams, you will be willing to do whatever it takes. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to have what you want. It's sacrifice. See, in life, this is how life works. You have to give up something to get something else. That's the only way it works. You give up all the fun times, the parties, the pointless sex, the drugs, the pointless substances, all that bullshit, to have bliss, to be able to live a beautiful life where you have riches, you have, a lot of income, you very financially stable, you have a beautiful girlfriend, or if you're a girl, you have a boyfriend, or whoever you want, whatever your sexual preference, you have a partner, you have, friends that really love you for you, you have a nice social circle, people that really enjoy being around you, and you have with the career of your dreams. If you want all of that, then it's time to be a slave to self-improvement. You have to be a slave. You have to. There's no other way around it. You can't escape it. Or you're going to be a slave to this, because you're going to be a slave regardless. Once again, it's just like how I explained earlier in the video, like how you're going to work regardless. The same concept applies to this. You're going to be a slave regardless. Either you're going to be a slave to bullshit pleasure, your desires, or you're going to be a slave to self-improvement. It ain't no getting out being a slave. They made us slaves physically, 400 some years ago, through chains and stuff. But now, you a slave mentally. You have to choose which one you want to be a slave to. You want to be a slave to stuff that don't matter, or you want to be a slave to stuff that do matter, and that will get you all the stuff that you wanted in the first place. It's on you. I can't make you do anything. I can only tell you what you need to do in order to have the life that you want. I can only lead you into the right direction. Okay, nobody can ever, make you do anything. I can't make you be a slave to nothing. That's on you. You have to make that mental switch in your head. You have to make that conscious decision to say, hey, I'm going to be a slave to self-development for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that. And you have to be okay with that. That's the thing, you have to. And just because you're a slave to self-improvement, self-development, that don't mean you can't still have fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun. The problem comes in when you having too much fun, when it's not balanced. You see, everything in life is a balance. Everything requires balance. And I learned that from a YouTuber. Her name Tiana Musera. Shout out Tiana Musera. She taught me that. She said her second favorite her second favorite word is balance. Her first favorite word is love, but balance, she said she loved that word balance a lot. And I agree. I love that word a lot too. It's all about balance. It's all about balance. you need to balance both. You can still have fun, but you need to make sure that most of your time is spent being a slave to self-development, to the work, to improving yourself, to making sure that you are the best man that you could possibly be, the best person you could possibly be, the best woman you could possibly be, the best person you could possibly be. In order to make this thing happen, you have to be a slave. You have to. You have to use that as the excuse to give yourself to. You have to use that as the excuse to let yourself let loose. Being a slave to self-development, because if you put in all this work, then you deserve to let loose, because you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. If you're a slave to self-development and self-improvement, then yes, you should let that give you the excuse to let loose, to cut back. Right now you can cut back. Now you can chill. Now you can go to a party. Now you can go talk to a girl if you want to, or go talk to a dude if you want to. You can go do that because you've been working most of the day, and now you finally get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. That's what happens. That's how it goes. So as long as you can do that, then yeah, you can cut loose. But you have to earn it. Everything in life is earned. Everything worthwhile, everything meaningful in life is earned. And that's meaningful. All that stuff. Let that give you the excuse to cut back. Chill back, because you don't want to be too serious. And that's what I preach in life. Life is always a constant mixture. It's a balance. You want to be chill, sit back and be goofy, be silly sometimes, but you also want to put on your serious mode when it's time to work. Put on your serious face. It's time to work. It's time to get stuff done. And that's it. That's all I gotta say. Just be a slave to escape mediocrity, to escape that horrible outcome of being 60 and regretting your life. You have to be a slave to self-development and self-improvement. Have to. And remember, have a good day. Always stay positive and never give up. Never give up.